Welcome, welcome. I'm live and it's not the first Friday of the month. But I was too excited. I couldn't wait. It was already hard enough to wait till Friday so our schedules could align for my very special guest, Diana Larson.
Hi,
Hi.
hi, Tricia.
Um, since we're on my channel right now with these things, would you like to introduce yourself for a minute?
Well, I'm Diana Larson.
I
have
mean,
been
that
a
probably is enough right there,
yeah.
like
Okay,
honestly, but
you're really okay. I'm Diana Larson, author,
I'm just kidding. Go
consultant.
ahead, like, go
Yeah,
with things. I'm like, but who
yeah.
doesn't know Diana a little bit?
Well, yeah, yeah. Author, consultant, sometimes mentor. Yeah, in the
Can you
agile
share just a
community for
bit
a
about
very
the
long
Agile
time.
Fluency, though?
Pardon?
Can you share just a bit about what you do with the Agile
Oh,
Fluency, though?
well, so yeah, right now I'm really involved with the Agile Fluency project at agilefluency.org, where we talk about how people can learn to make their transitions to Agile in a way that is more fit for the individual organization and the teams in that organization. And we teach other folks how to do that. And it's been I partner with James Shore around creating the materials, and we have a community now of about 100 licensed facilitators and who are able to go and use all of our materials and things. We have a vision of a world where every organization that says it's doing Agile with its teams is getting the full benefits that they
Imagine
could be
that.
getting. Yes. So it's an uphill climb, but we enlist other folks to help us with that. So
Which is why I loved it. That's why I wanted to
yeah,
make sure you
yeah,
highlight it in case there are a few
yeah,
people who were not aware of it.
yeah.
But we today have a very special announcement, some news that we can finally we've been
Yeah,
sharing it a little bit,
yeah.
but we can now officially start sharing.
Officially. Yeah, yeah.
So let me add it up to the stream here. Let me see if I remember how.
Okay. Yay!
We have a book.
We have a book. Yeah. So you want to tell how we got started with it?
Sure. Should I leave this up or just well, I'll bring it back up later, but let's
Yeah,
so that I can see you a little bit
yeah,
more because it's better with
yeah.
me. So it was interesting because there's a publisher at Barrett Kohler that actually attends a number of the different Agile conferences looking for authors and looking for potential authors that she felt like their content might be great or things like this. And
Mhm.
her name is Charlotte, and she had approached me, and I was like, I'm a speaker, I'm not an author. Like, no part of me wants you doing
Yeah.
that. Like, no, no, thank you. But she didn't really give up, and she had kept reaching out to me. And eventually I kind of said, well, here's the thing. I don't want, even if I was willing to write a book, I don't want to write it by myself. And she says, oh, I have somebody else that doesn't want to write alone. She goes, maybe you know each other. And I was like, okay, who? And she
Yeah.
goes, Diana Larson. And I'm like, yes, we know each other, and I am not worthy. It was the immediate thought I had in my
Yeah.
mind, right? And so, she had been reaching out obviously to you as well. Was she doing the same thing similar to you?
Well, yeah, she had been asking me, would I do something in this area or could I do something in that area? And I just told her I work collaboratively. I mean, the retrospectives book I did with Esther, the liftoff book I did with
Ainsley.
Ainsley Neese, Agile Fluency project materials I created with James Shore. It's like that's my preferred mode. I like to at least pair on things if I'm not working with a team. And so then a few months later, she came back and she says, I've got somebody. I wonder if you know them. And so, yeah. And I was like,
Nice.
whoa, how fun could it be to write a book with Tricia Broderick?
So that's what we did. Now she gave us, I'm going to put the book back up on the stream for a second. She gave us kind of just a general, here's the concept, right? Like something about blame, right? But really gave us carte blanche in terms of what we wanted to do. And we really, I mean, talking about living the agile principles and stuff, this book truly emerged, right? Like there was an element of, even though we had known each other for a really long time, we've never really gotten to collaborate previously. We've had great deep discussions about things, but never really truly collaborate on things. So there was a point, and I remember it very early on, we were like, well, let's test this. Let's see if this is going to work. You know, like, what do you believe in? What do I kind of agree with? And we ended up finding things that we really aligned on. We did have differences in certain areas, but it truly, where we started with the initial outline, which I guess every author says this, and where it ended up was very different in a lot of ways. But we truly emerged to find what message we wanted to share. And that was a really cool experience for me personally. I know that that's your preferred mode, but for me, I was like, wow, watching this happen and watching us find our voices, not just individually, but together. And then watching this feel overwhelming, start to have like start to come together, and then feel all overwhelming again as we're trying to tie the things with it. So we now are officially on pre-order. We are now officially have a published date of September, which we were a little sad about because we had expected June, but COVID. COVID. And so there's a lot of delays. But would you like to give a little high level of what we landed on, what we emerged to?
Yeah. Well, you know, early on, we were both very attracted to the ideas around how do we create really good workplaces, and how do we ensure that those workplaces aren't trying to lean on blame and judgment and some of those things that impact psychological safety, as well as a bunch of other stuff. And then we had a nice conversation. We had several nice conversations about how retrospectives are really built on a foundation of, we're not coming to this meeting with blame in mind. We're coming in here with an exploration in mind, and blame is going to be counterproductive because people won't be honest in the retrospective, and those kinds of things. And so, and then we also landed on, we want to focus on leaders and teams, and what each of those bring to the party in a collaboration. It's not about leaders, and it's not just about teams, but it's about how those work together to create the best workplace and the best products and services. So so we focused on that, and then that led us to, well, it's leaders at any level of the organization, whether or not they have formal titles, or if they're a leader from their informal influence. We want, I mean, playing off of a keynote I did at the Agile Alliance conference a few years ago, we wanted every leader to be able to say, I love my work, I have the best job ever. And then the team members that work with them to be saying the same thing. So we wanted to help create that kind of environment. And we enlisted a lot of people to help us. We did lots of rounds of review, and we ended up in a place where we really feel like we spoke to both audiences. And that's the feedback we got from all of our reviewers all the way along. So we're pretty excited about it. Yeah.
In fact, that first set of reviewers, and thank you to them, helped us actually realize that we were also in this like perfect storm of a situation for this content too, because there were so many teams that felt like they were performing and doing a good job. And then when chaos ensued, when COVID hit, suddenly they all went remote, and everybody kind of stopped collaborating, barely, kind of went back to cooperation, even if they were before. And it made us start thinking, along with our reviewer input, is like, what did it really mean to build resilient teams, right? People focused on learning, people able to come together, even not just in complexity, but also in chaos, and what that would mean. And so we started kind of really focusing on what things do leaders at all levels, but also teams, need to really
Yeah.
not avoid.
Yeah.
And really
Yeah.
dig into. And so this book in some ways has like, it's kind of two parts. Diana mentioned we wrote it for leaders. We didn't just write it for agilists and agile leaders. And
Yeah.
that was something that became important to us. I don't think we started off with that necessarily. It just became important to us as we were going. So we kind of created the book into two parts, where the first part, what's essential, what's the foundation that's necessary to be there so that learning can happen, so that collaboration can happen. And for most agilists, hopefully part one might be, oh yeah, that's, sure. And then part two is that next level, that what do we use, secret sauce, right? The magic dynamic for resilience, in terms of what are the things that if we don't dig into, the teams don't know how to learn together. They don't know how to deal with those unexpected changes. And so it's really an interesting dynamic. Even when we were writing the book, we're like, we kept being personally drawn a little bit to that part two section of like, oh, let's talk about power.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated also the kinds of feedback we got from our reviewers right from the beginning. I mean, the first people that saw the very, very rough draft of, rough draft. And the book is nothing like that, or it's very different from that book. But some of the nuggets are still there, and feedback that we got from folks in fairly senior leadership roles saying, I'm already using ideas that were, I'm so glad you allowed me to review this book, or you invited me to to review this book. Here's my feedback, and I'm already going to use this, and I can't wait to see the end. And that was really, gave us some buoyancy and some momentum as we went along, very motivating to hear that, people are finding value in what we do. And so we did, for agilists, out there, we pair wrote. We only wrote when we were together.
Yes.
We did
on
not,
Zoom at all times, no matter what husband or kid or grandkid came in, we wrote.
We wrote together. We didn't like, oh, you write this part and I'll write that part. We wrote all of it together. We did incremental releases. Like I said, we had various rounds of people that we felt represented the kinds of folks who would appreciate this book, the book we intended to write, asking them for feedback. I mean, we had lots and lots of feedback loops in that way, and with the publisher and editors there as well. So, trying to create the best possible book that we could that would really be helpful to people. That's, if you've read Agile Retrospectives, or if you've read Liftoff, you know that the books I get involved in, I'm always trying to make them useful. The highest accolade that Esther and I receive from the Agile Retrospectives book is, it never is on the shelf, it's always on my desk, and we hear that a lot from folks. So, that's the kind of book that I like to be involved in. And I was privileged that Tricia was like, yeah, me too. That's the kind of book I want to be involved with.
we actually had a point where we're like, is this a book or a workbook? We're like trying to find that balance and that line with that. Right. So I'm excited.
I wanted to say one more thing, and that is, it almost is a little bit of a workbook, because not only are we writing about learning, but we're giving prompts for learning as you read through the book. Well, what if this happens? Or what if somebody says this to me, or those kinds of things, some real thought experiments, some real opportunities to learn, not just from the text of the book, but from the reader's own experiences and thought processes. Sorry to interrupt you.
And full examples of retros that we did of saying, hey, like for if you want to, get into a deep discussion about the power dynamics happening in your team, here's an example retro we might use, and what that design looks like, the timing, the activities we might use to really dig into those conversations.
Yeah.
So And again, I want to echo, just because we can't say it enough, for the reviewers, the testimonials that we've already received, the forwards that offered their time for us. In some ways, it was really cool for personally, to be able to do this and learn, and in some ways kept my sanity during COVID, because I got to interact with Diana every week. And
At least once a week, sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, fair. But like, it really does feel like not only just an emergent from us, but supported from so many people, that it truly does speak to the power of the wisdom of the crowd. And for that, I'm really excited and happy. So I feel slightly guilty and evil that we're announcing it now and saying all you can do right now is pre-order. But it is out there on Amazon, which, by the way, I don't know if I got to tell you this, Diana. So my husband is a published, he was a journalism major. He works in publishing, but he works for a nonprofit, and he does, their magazine, their communications and things like that. And I showed my daughter that our book is on Amazon, and she like freaked out. She was so excited. She was so happy. And I can hear my husband. He's like, I write every day. You've never had her. She goes, you're not on Amazon, Dad.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So apparently that's what gets me cool points.
Yeah. And not just Amazon, but on Barrett Kohler, the publisher's website, where our book is there, that you can find it, and Barnes and Noble and Target and Walmart and all the online bookstores have, now have our book popped up. So whatever your preferred, people have pros and cons opinions about all these places, yes. But whichever one is your preferred bookseller, online bookseller, we're there. And I hope we'll be after September. I hope we'll be also in your friendly local bookstore, where you can walk in and actually touch and hold and open and page through and do all those kinds of things as well.
I might just cuddle with mine. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But that's our announcement. We'll be sharing more. Diana, you're speaking at a number of things coming up, right?
Yes, I'm going to be, Agile Virtual Summit, where we're both going to be. Yes,
we're doing it together.
And then I'm going to be at Agile and Beyond in Detroit later in May, and then at the XP 2022 in Copenhagen in June, and then Agile Conference, Agile 2022 in July. So I'm really looking forward to those. I'm looking forward to those trips, but I'm also looking forward to the opportunity to talk to folks about our book.
Yeah. And I'm going to be at the TechWell's Agile Development West in Vegas in June, Scrum Gathering here in Denver in June. I will be at the Nashville Agile 2022 speaking. And I might just carry like a box of Kleenex at my when I go to conferences, and I can see people again right now, sharing about those things. And then I also still have a few spots left in the facilitation course next month, and the coaching leadership course with Jake Calabrese in June. Other than that, I don't have any other publics kind of coming up. So for those that were interested, there are a few spots left in both of those in May and June, but those are the only publics currently I have listed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And can I just say, I've got a public workshop in May coming up called Partnering with Decision Makers. So getting into that good kind of relationship with the people who are making decisions in your organization, whether they're your client or your colleague inside an organization. And that'll be a 2 half-day workshop.
Okay. I might have you send me the link for that, so I can put that up for people as we go. Right. I can post it afterwards with it. But otherwise, I'll be back the first weekend of May with another topic. Probably that, I'll save my rants for those. This was just a happy day. And we did it. So we'll see everybody later.